Picture this. Winter, 1692. A bitter cold has settled over Salem Village, Massachusetts. Inside the drafty home of Reverend Samuel Parris, his 9-year-old daughter Betty is convulsing. Her eyes roll back. She screams, babbles, and crawls under furniture like an animal. Her cousin, Abigail Williams, shows the same terrifying symptoms. The doctor finds no illness, no fever, no rational explanation. His diagnosis sends a shockwave through the Puritan settlement. The evil hand is upon them. Within weeks, accusations begin. Within months, the jails are overflowing. Within a year, 19 innocent people will hang, 1 man will be crushed to death under stones, and an entire community will descend into a paranoid madness. This is the story of the Salem Witch Trials, the darkest chapter in early American history, where fear and hysteria turned neighbor against neighbor, and reason dissolved into chaos. So what turned this small village into a pressure cooker ready to explode? Life in 1692 was brutal. The Puritans who lived there believed they were in a constant cosmic battle between God and Satan. To them, the devil was real, and witchcraft wasn't superstition. It was theology. The Bible itself said, "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live." If you believed the Bible was the literal word of God, you believed witches existed and they had to be destroyed. But it wasn't just religious paranoia. The community was fractured by bitter land disputes and resentment towards their new minister, Reverend Parris. Political instability and a brutal war on the frontier added to the tension. Refugees flooded into Salem with horrific stories of massacres, making the threat of evil feel incredibly real. Then there was Tituba, Reverend Parris's enslaved woman from Barbados. It's believed she told fortunes and strange stories to the local girls, including Betty and Abigail. Activities like trying to divine a future husband by dropping an egg into water were considered devil's work. When the girls began their strange fits, the community panicked. Soon other girls, Ann Putnam Jr., Mercy Lewis, and more, showed the same symptoms. They screamed, contorted, and claimed invisible forces were pinching and choking them. Under intense pressure, the girls named 3 women: Tituba, Sarah Good, a homeless beggar, and Sarah Osborne, an elderly bedridden woman who had scandalized the village. All 3 were outsiders. All were vulnerable. On February 29, 1692, they were arrested. The interrogations were public spectacles. Sarah Good and Sarah Osborne denied everything. But when Tituba was questioned, everything changed. She didn't deny it, she confessed. She spun a terrifying tale of signing the devil's book in blood, of witches' meetings and demonic animals. Why confess? It was likely self-preservation. Denying witchcraft meant execution, but confessing might save her life. She was right. Tituba was imprisoned but never tried. Her confession, however, ignited an inferno. If there was one witch, there had to be more. The girls continued having fits, and with each fit, they named new witches. The accusations spiraled, even targeting respected church members like Martha Corey and the beloved 71-year-old grandmother Rebecca Nurse. If a pious, saintly woman could be a witch, then anyone could. By April, the jails were overflowing. Children as young as 4 years old were accused. The afflicted girls held terrifying power. A pointed finger was enough to ruin a life. When the new governor, Sir William Phips, arrived, he created a special court to handle the crisis. The fatal flaw of this court was its acceptance of spectral evidence. This meant if an accuser claimed your spirit attacked them in a vision, that alone was considered valid proof of guilt. It was unprovable, unfalsifiable, and utterly absurd. On June 10th, the first execution took place. Bridget Bishop was hanged on Gallows Hill. 5 more followed in July, including Rebecca Nurse and Sarah Good. As Sarah Good stood on the gallows, Reverend Noyes demanded she confess. She shouted back, "You are a liar. I am no more a witch than you are a wizard. If you take away my life, God will give you blood to drink." Years later, Noyes died choking on his own blood. In August, 5 more were hanged, including former minister George Burroughs, who recited the Lord's Prayer perfectly on the gallows, something a witch supposedly couldn't do. It didn't save him. 8 more were hanged in September. But the most horrifying death was that of Giles Corey. The 80-year-old man refused to enter a plea to protect his land for his sons. The court's response was an ancient form of torture: pressing. For 2 days, heavy stones were piled on his chest. Every time they asked for a plea, he would only whisper, "More weight." On September 19th, Giles Corey died in unimaginable agony. By the fall of 1692, the public was starting to have doubts. The accusations had become ridiculous, even targeting the governor's wife. Influential ministers began to speak out, arguing that spectral evidence was unreliable. "It were better that 10 suspected witches should escape," wrote Increase Mather, "than that one innocent person should be condemned." In October, the governor dissolved the court. The trial stopped. The remaining accused were eventually released. The aftermath was devastating. Families were destroyed. Ann Putnam Jr., one of the main accusers, publicly apologized years later, claiming she had been deluded by Satan. One of the judges, Samuel Sewall, also publicly confessed his guilt and fasted every year on the anniversary of the executions for the rest of his life. So what really happened in Salem? Modern theories range from ergot poisoning, a fungus on rye that causes hallucinations and convulsions, to mass hysteria, where psychological stress manifests as physical symptoms. Others point to deliberate fraud, with accusations used to settle old scores and land disputes. The truth is likely a combination of it all, a perfect storm of religious fanaticism, social tension, and genuine fear that spiraled into madness. The Salem Witch Trials serve as a chilling cautionary tale. They show how easily fear can destroy justice, and how a community can turn on its own. The phrase witch hunt exists in our language for a reason. In times of crisis, it's terrifyingly easy to see enemies everywhere. The real legacy of Salem is a warning. When fear is in charge, reason is the first casualty. What do you think really caused the Salem Witch Trials? Was it poison, panic, or pure politics? Let me know your theory down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoy exploring the darker chapters of history, be sure to like this video and subscribe for more.